We back.
Yeah.
We should just get right into it because we got a lot of college football to discuss.
Yes, sir.
All right. Feel like we should just rip the Band-Aid off really quick.
I'd love to because I just want to stop thinking about this fucking game and move on with my life. If we can just do that.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go into Ohio State's loss to Michigan for another year. I don't know where you want to start.
Well, let me just roll with it, please. I know I'm probably gonna go off on a tangent and just like ramble.
That's fine.
I gotta get it out.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right. I've thought about how I want to present this, and I think I don't want to be hyperbolic, but I think this is the biggest loss that Ohio State has had in my time of watching them.
I will give the stamp of absolutely, and not even your time watching it, period.
So,
period.
I have seen some bigger losses from Ohio State. I started watching in 2016. So I saw them lose 31-0 to Clemson in the playoff. They lost to Alabama in the national championship. They have lost home games to Oregon. They've lost home games to Oklahoma. An away game to Iowa. Like there's been plenty of big losses where you're like, wow, that was bad. This is by far the worst for so many reasons. The biggest, in my opinion, is they had all these players come back for one, the chance to beat Michigan because this senior class hasn't, and two, to win a national championship which is still in play. You know, it's my confidence in them is taking a hit, but those were the two things. And I guess you could say Big Ten championship too. Like Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, Travion Henderson, like so many guys that wanted the opportunity to finally beat Michigan, and they couldn't get it done.
I gotta say, not to interrupt, I especially feel for those defensive guys.
They played out of their fucking minds. You know what? I shouldn't even say that because Michigan's offense is putrid. They just fired their offensive coordinator today.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, they did. Right. And like they couldn't. They just like. They can only run the ball. They couldn't throw the fucking ball. I'm pretty sure Davis Warren had 3 interceptions and at least one in the red zone. He was missing wide open guys. They're not good. The defense, fine. They played out of their mind. Like they dominated a bad offense like they should have. This is 1,000% on the offense.
Yeah.
So going into the game, Michigan had 2 of their best players out. One, Colston Loveland, who's a tight end. He might be the best tight end in the country. So that helped the Ohio State's defense. The other guy was Will Johnson, who was a cornerback for Michigan. So they're very depleted on the outside for Michigan's defense. The defensive line is their strength. They have Mason Graham, who is arguably a first-round talent for the NFL draft. And yet the game plan for Ohio State was first down, run into the defensive line for 2 yards. Second down, try the same thing, maybe outside, maybe 1 yard.
Yeah.
And then have a completion on third down. It was so fucking still. Let me roll with this, please.
All right.
I gotta get it out. They had the matchup advantage on the outside with arguably maybe the best trio in the nation now that Carnell Tate is really like ascending. Which brief tangent on him. Have you watched the past few Ohio State games with Gus Johnson?
Yeah.
Okay. Whenever Carnell Tate makes a play, Gus Johnson has to bring up the fact that his mom was murdered in a drive-by shooting, and he calls.
I don't know why.
Great. It's I mean obviously that's not great, but it's great how he has overcome all that. But we don't need to hear about it every single time that you watch them, and even multiple times. Like he just keeps bringing it up, and it's just so.
I'm sure he doesn't want everyone to hear that over and over again either.
Exactly right, but beside the point, they have arguably the best trio of wide receivers in the nation, and they don't throw them the fucking ball. Like when they had a end of the first half drive where they just kept throwing the ball, and they drove down the field, scored easily, no problem. And the second half, they still keep fucking running the ball, where they have 2 offensive linemen that are backups. Why are you going to go against their strength and your weakness and just keep trying to run the ball? Fucking throw it. Like, I don't think
they
had an attempted pass over like 20 yards or even a completion over 20 yards.
They played right into Michigan's hands.
Exactly. And they had so many fucking opportunities to put this game away. Will Howard had some terrible interceptions.
We said that previously too.
Right. He is turnover prone. Like that's becoming very apparent. And they missed 2 fucking kicks. Like, this game was there for the taking. And it just, I think this is coming from the top. Ryan Day, I have been a defender of him. I've said, like, we're expecting perfection of him, but with the weight surrounding this game and like the terrible game plan, the lack of adjustments, this falls on him. And I got one foot out the door with Ryan Day. I am just so upset with how poorly he's handled this. And just like, you had now they're out of the Big Ten championship game. You had that inevitable rematch with Oregon. Now that might not happen. So there's just so many ramifications to this, and it all falls on top of him. I'm not usually one to go and blame the head coach for everything.
And the icing on the cake,
it's so apparent with this.
It was Michigan that did it on a bad year as well.
On a terrible year. The Ohio State is so much better than them. Talent-wise, like, just top to bottom, they're so much fucking better. And they couldn't fucking finish it. Sorry for pardon my French, but it was just such a frustrating game to watch. I stopped watching like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I knew what was going to happen. I knew that they weren't going to fucking finish this. Like, it was just so apparent. They let so many easy opportunities slip through their grasp, and they just couldn't finish it. It's so frustrating. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Okay. Well, I have quite a bit to say about this game too. So I said, last week I was concerned with them being a 20-point favorite. You remember, I guessed I said 6 points. I thought it was ridiculous. I get Michigan is bad this year. They still have a great defense, and it's like a rivalry game. Like, doesn't always work like that. We're just going to be a blowout every time.
Right.
Then I got to say, you mentioned burning the ball. So I did some digging. The last 23 games these two teams have played, the winner was a team that ran the ball better.
No shot.
So but also the fact that Ryan Day couldn't see, like, okay, our offense isn't really geared for this, and we have 3 outstanding wide receivers.
We have 2 of the best running backs in the nation, arguably 2, but our offensive line has not played and you're with 2 backups.
Yeah, in the moment, though. And not season overall, just in the moment. It's not working. You have 3 probably NFL wide receivers.
100%, yeah. And one of them was a freshman, one of them was a sophomore.
And then it speaks volumes to also the trust he has in the quarterback, too, Will Howard. That it speaks, I think that, so nobody has really mentioned that, but to me that speaks volumes, because we know Will Howard has had the interception issue. He's had kind of, in the Oregon game, the time management and the awareness. Yeah. To me, that is a slap in the face.
Yeah, he has played great from time to time. Like,
and I'm not saying
he downfield, he gets good.
Right. I'm not saying he deserved, kind of that treatment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You kind of got to let your quarterback go in these games, especially when, they're down a corner. They try to go toe to toe with their defense, and it's the one spot that's their strength.
Right.
Okay. You said you had 1 foot out the door on Day. Mm-hmm. I got both out. Both out. Yeah. Now, it's funny because I can compare it to Army in a way. When Monken got the job, his number one job description to keep his job was, you need to start beating the other academies, and particularly Navy. Like, coming off of a 14 game losing streak, right? Well, at the time it was 12 for him because Monken lost his first 2. Yeah, first 2. And his job weighed heavily on that fact. And then he got it done in his third year.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went on a 3-game winning streak, and now he's won 6 of the last 8. So it is beating your rival has a massive weight when it comes to, like, especially a Michigan and Ohio State type rivalry. It holds too much weight. And so for me, obviously I was at the Army game. I didn't watch it live, but when I was running through it, it wasn't during the game that did it for me. I had one foot out during the game. After the game, it was both feet out the door, goodbye. How he handled everything going on was so 33. His name is that Sawyer?
Jack Sawyer, yeah.
Okay. He was obviously trying to go defend, the logo, his team, his state, right? And he's obviously being very passionate about it. And you see the clip and he's flipping out and Ryan Day is literally just standing there,
not doing fucking anything. Have control of your guys.
Not trying to go over to guys to make sure they're fine, get them to relax. He literally looked lost.
Yeah.
He didn't look like a leader. He looked like a guy that knew he was fired, at least to me, in my opinion. Yeah.
The athletic director said his job is safe. To me, it should be riding on this. I feel like it's almost a foregone conclusion that they will be in the playoff. Obviously, they're not.
They will.
But if it depends on how far they go. If they make it all the way, then okay.
I don't know.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but he's on a short leash. If it's a one and done, then I don't know what you do. I feel like you gotta go. You gotta get rid of him.
I mean, when he was losing the previous years to Michigan, you could see it. Harbaugh was there. They're getting a lot of players and athletes,
and it's just like one or two plays that like made the game.
Yep.
With this one,
exactly.
No, it was so many plays that they just fucked up on that. It amounted to what happened. And let me say one other thing too. With like the defense played great. They whenever Davis Warren went back to pass, which wasn't really much, they couldn't get much pressure on him, and the offensive line wasn't really like. I mean, it's somewhat of a strong plan, but it's not like one of the best in the nation. They lost a lot of guys through the draft and graduation.
They lost so many guys.
That has been such a huge thing for them in these games. Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau, two guys who were projected to be first round picks. And I think at least three games against Michigan, they have not had a single sack. If you're a defensive end, if that is what you do, you have to get to the quarterback, and they could not do that. And prior to this game, I was happy with how Ohio State's defense kind of changed course with some things, like with how they go after the quarterback, where they were just like in the Oregon game, they were just rushing 4 guys and they couldn't get to Dylan Gabriel, couldn't put any pressure on him. And since then, they started doing like stunts and different like schemes, and it helped, right? So, I mean, they put some pressure. I don't think they got a sack, but they put some pressure on Davis Warren. So I will say that at least they have adjusted, and that's like my, I guess, one hope with this team, at least with the offense, is they learn from this game as they learned from the Oregon game with their defense. They learn from it with their offense and just play to their strengths and the other team's weaknesses. So I don't know if they will, but
one of my main concerns throughout the year for Ohio State was their secondary tackling. I'm not too sure how that went.
And penalties. Yeah, well, the secondary didn't need to tackle because they couldn't throw the ball down the field.
Yeah, but are are the safeties coming up to help the linebackers and stuff like that? Yeah. And it's just like the little stuff too. Like if you want to look at if a defense is really good or not, your linebackers should have the most tackles on the team, with probably defensive linemen having the least, probably. Yeah. Safeties second most. It depends, but
with at least with Ohio State with Caleb Downs, who I feel like he won the defensive back of the year for the Big Ten today. He probably leads the league and leads the team in tackles. He is phenomenal. and he's a safety, so maybe that might just be a little bit from Ohio State. But
so like once in a while, you get safeties too that kind of are like hybrids where they play him down in the box too sometimes. So
yeah.
I personally, how do they even bounce back? I don't know. Like I hope for you and for them that they find a way to bounce back and at least get like half the cake. Like okay, they get a national championship or they at least get there. But I don't know how you bounce back. How do you? If I'm a player, how do you even play for Ryan Day after the fact?
I will say at least like during the game, there was a little bit more emotion with it. Like players were getting into it more than I have seen in years past. Like Keyshawn Jenkins, he didn't have a great game because of the lots of offensive line problems. But after each run that was decent, he was trying to get the crowd into it. Like he was getting after it. But you're right. Like how do you kind of get up for the next game after like this massive disappointment? And at least with the playoff,
and they're gonna have to sit on it because there's no conference championship, so they're gonna have to sit on it now.
That's what I'm saying. I know,
which makes it even worse.
Yeah, with the college football playoff rankings that came out today, they would be hosting Tennessee in a home playoff game, which not a terrible matchup. Obviously the Tennessee is a top 10 team, but I don't hate it. And I was going to say something else. I forgot what it was. Regardless, like it's going to be tough to bounce back from something like this. I hope that they can kind of refocus them and like, hey, there's still something in front of us to play for. That was what I was going to say. You may have seen this, but people are comparing Will Howard's season to Kyle McCord's season this year for Syracuse and saying like, oh, we ran this guy out of Columbus. Like, what the hell were we doing? Yes, McCord has the most passing yards in the nation. He's also playing for Syracuse.
Yeah.
Not the same level of opponent.
No.
So and I don't know what their type of offense is, but I mean the games that I've watched, he's thrown like 50 something times, which Will Howard hasn't. He's thrown like 20 something.
Right.
And I think McCord still has more interceptions because he had that 4 interception game against Pitt. But I hate the reaction. I guess I'm kind of doing this too because I'm just so upset about it. But the reactionary, like the sky is falling, this is the worst fucking thing ever, which like arguably other teams in the college football playoff rankings right now have had worse losses against worse teams. I mean, Notre Dame with Northern Illinois, we've talked about that.
Right.
But I think just the fact that it's against your rival, that's what makes it feel so much worse, even though like it's a very down year for Michigan. They're still bowl eligible and they still have some strength, but regardless, it's still tough to stomach.
Being 20-point favorites did not help Ohio State's case.
No, it didn't.
Because it made it seem all that much worse when in reality, like I said, Michigan still has a very good defense.
Yeah.
And it just ended up Ohio State just played right into their hands and they got. But I gotta say, man, when I think of Ohio State now, all I got in my head is that image of behind Ryan Day, another coach is holding Sawyer back, and he is literally just standing there. And I don't even know, but I think his hands are in his pockets, which I know to most people that's a little detail. But like if you're standing there and your hands are in your pockets, that means you're like chilling. You're just like you're not there.
His tail's between his legs. That's kind of how I read it.
Yeah, to me, I don't know how you keep him. I don't know how. And then this goes back to the thing that I say all the time of like, okay, well, if you fire Day, who are you going to get? Is there someone in-house they can hire?
I prepared this actually. Well, one thing that I saw today, which wasn't from a really reputable source, but take it with a grain of salt. Urban Meyer would be open to coming back. I don't know if I would want him considering his at the end of Ohio State. I don't know. I wasn't really the biggest fan of his, and his time with the Jags was god awful. But I guess in this again, take it with a grain of salt. I read the story where he kind of butted heads with the AD there at the time, who has since retired, and like they didn't like how much power that he had. So new AD, maybe they would be willing to bring him in. Two other options that I had thought of if they do go down this road: Brian Hartline, who is the wide receivers coach currently. He went to Ohio State. You could argue that he's the best position coach in the nation, considering how many first-round wide receivers and just NFL wide receivers they produce. So he might be a good option. Another dark horse, Mike Vrabel.
I was thinking
Ohio State. He went to Ohio State. I think he might be in Ohio right now. I'm pretty sure he was an assistant coach or some type of position for the Browns. And he's got that like hard-nosed, mentality that the Ohio State program like has had in the past. So those are some options. I am not gonna say, because like I don't want to totally discredit Ryan Day for what he's done so far. Like he's brought them to the playoff many a time. I think that might have been his first loss against an unranked team, maybe second, maybe the first one, some very low number. So we've always
unfortunately
smart too.
Unfortunately, he is now in the same category as James Franklin.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's just kind of how it is right now. It can't beat the big rival. Hasn't won a national championship.
He is I saw this. He said he's the Michael Jordan of James Franklin's.
It's just kind of accurate. That's funny though. That is funny.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh God. But man, I gotta say I know the feeling all too well. And at least you can shift your focus to the playoffs now and maybe just forget about it for the year until you get them next year. But
I know,
man.
And it does help that there is like still playoff aspirations. Like if it was just like, oh, we're gonna play in the might be Car Care Bowl or some crazy thing like that where no one is gonna play and they're all gonna sit out, then it's just like, wow, this is it. This is the end. But at least there is still something in sight, and I can't say I'm confident. I'm hopeful, but I took a big hit this week. Let's just say that.
I don't blame you at all. I don't blame you at all. Like I told you, I know the feeling, and I was feeling it for you.
Thank you.
Literally, we were walking up the hill to go back to the tailgate, and I looked at my phone and I said, "No fucking way."
Jesus, I'm happy to move on if you want. I think I've said what I need to say. I'm ready. I'm ready to put it in the review.
Let's shift our focus really quick. We are going to do obviously a little bit of Army talk because there's kind of a lot to be talked about. They finished 8-0 in the American in their first year in the American. Nice. They played Tulane this week. Let's see. Monken got American Coach of the Year. Daly got American Player of the Year.
Really?
Yeah. And now this is Monken's fourth season going undefeated at home in the regular season.
That's something.
That's fucking nuts.
That's great.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
For the span, there was like 2 years, I think it was 17 and 18. They didn't lose at home. So, and then 2020 and then 2024. So yeah, 4. I'm not too, I gotta say, I'm a little bit nervous about Friday, but I don't know how Tulane's going to handle that. It's going to be 27 degrees.
This might be silly. Where is Tulane?
Louisiana. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's tough. Yeah. Coming to New York? You kidding?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in the mountains. That I don't know how.
What's the weather supposed to be like? Is it supposed to be like rainy at all, or
no rain, no snow, just a crisp. I think it said 27 degrees, but the real field is more like 19.
So for you, are we thinking like sweatshirt and shorts? Is that what you're?
It's funny you say that because at the last game, I had sweatpants on and I wore a sweatshirt with a bomber jacket over it. And then
that's a lot for you.
Yeah, and everyone was panicking because if I was dressing up,
Oh yeah, they got to wear several layers. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so they got that going for them. They're used to having 2 weeks off before Navy. Now they have none because they played this past weekend, and they're playing this weekend, and they play Navy next weekend.
Man, that's a lot. Yeah, and they're used to having 2 weeks of prep for Navy.
Yeah, and Navy's I'm kind of back and forth on the whole thing because it's like it's just it sucks because you're playing multiple games in a row. But in the same time, like going into that cold and getting your first hit after not having a game for 1 or 2 weeks sucks.
I feel like you can spin it the other way and just like, the momentum of playing week after week after week, instead of just having the downtime.
Right, because downtime is great if you're really banged up and you're really injured. Mm-hmm. Army doesn't really have a lot of injuries. So outside of a few defensive linemen, but
no trench foot or anything, nothing.
No trench foot going around. But I mean, defensive line is pretty much non-existent for Army, anyways, all the time because they can never find a good defensive lineman. So that's whatever. Two defensive linemen got hurt on the same play this past weekend, and I was just like, you know what? Not to be fucked up, but it won't even make a difference. There will be no difference.
Next man up, and it won't.
Whoever's left, if they put an offensive lineman there, it wouldn't have mattered. It would have been the same result.
Oh man!
And that's kind of how it always is for Army. They just can't find. I don't know, defensive line. I feel like every school has their one position they're really good at. Like Ohio State is wide receivers. Army, it's definitely linebackers. Mm-hmm. But defensive line is just not it. Not it.
It probably helped when they upped the weight allowance.
Yes,
for your players.
That
still hasn't made a huge difference.
No, just the talent is not there with it.
Yeah,
literally, some quarterbacks have so much time they end up fucking up anyways because the receivers are just running around all over the place at that point.
Yeah, it's not like scripted plays. It's I have way too much time. What's going on?
I guess it works because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to harp on the game too much. I'm a little bit nervous. Tulane has got a good defense, and what they did to Navy is kind of scary. They beat Navy.
What was the score? Yeah,
35-0.
Was this later on in the season? Yeah, this was later on in the season.
Yeah, it was. It was like a few weeks ago. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like after Notre Dame, Navy kind of just fell off a wagon. They really weren't
they did
the same. So maybe take it with a grain of salt.
Also, I firmly believe Army's got the better quarterback. I don't think it's even fucking close.
So was that Navy Tulane game at Tulane? Well, I mean, it wouldn't really
No, I think it was at. It might have been at Navy. I'm not sure.
My point in bringing that up is I think that you guys have a massive advantage with the weather, and just is Tulane do they pass a lot?
No, they're actually very good at running the ball.
But they're not triple option though.
No.
Okay. No. So that's kind of my point with the cold weather. I feel like being a triple option that kind of favors you maybe a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'd argue more the advantage is them being soldiers and having to just go through those because it's funny. I just noticed this literally last weekend, right? UTSA, they all got those big jackets on the sideline and stuff like that. Army's got nothing, not a jacket in sight, not a heater in sight.
It's funny you say that too, because the Thanksgiving game with Dolphins and Packers, Packers players out in tank tops, shorts, and then all the Dolphins players have sweatshirts. But they're bundled, and this is pregame warmups too. So they even have more stuff on the sideline, during. So I feel, and if you think about it, you don't really have this a ton, I don't think, because it's a night game too, huh?
Yeah, 8:00 at night.
Oh, damn, man. So I feel like you don't have this a ton, because you don't really play a ton of games later into the season like this, right? So then kind of roll with me here, and if see if you agree with my thought. But with your offense, triple option, you take a lot of time off the clock. So while you guys are on the field running it up and down, the other team's offense is sitting on the sideline, cold as fuck, wearing those big ass jackets, trying to stay warm, and they're not able to like move around because they're not on the field.
Right.
So I feel like in addition to like burning the clock, it kind of, makes
it's going to keep
stay
them
cold and
literally
not be able
iced.
Exactly. So I mean, I feel like that might play.
Yeah,
point in this, but
I agree for sure. It's funny because over like at the game we were talking about me, my dad, and our family friend. We were talking about like, oh, how much does a cold affect you? Because UTSA is from Texas, and my dad was all like, oh, the cold doesn't really make that much of a difference. I said, psych, bitch, that shit hurts.
Yeah.
Do you understand how fucking much more it hurts when you're taking a hit from a 290-pound guy when it's freezing cold out? Everything's tight. The ball is about as hard as a freaking rock. So like when you land on it, you're fucking dead.
Even when we like played lacrosse in like those types of conditions, it's so hard to move. And then like it's a little bit different. Like you're not taking like a full body hit necessarily, but like even like the sticks like whacking you, it just feels like
it's so much worse.
It
is so much worse. So I'm going to be interested to see how Tulane handles it. If I'm them, I'm bringing any type of equipment I can. If I got to bring a fucking hair dryer, I'm bringing a fucking hair dryer or something like that.
Big ass sideline heaters. Yeah. That's what they need.
Yeah, because I don't think Army's going to have anything if I know them. And if I know the Army being as cheap as they are. So, so we'll see. And then next week we're gonna do a Army Navy special, I think.
Huge.
Yeah, it's a big game. I was watching YouTube or whatever, and someone kind of like I hate when like fans stake their claim as like greatest rivalry. Just because like there's like such a difference between all of them. And I got some pointers that will pretty much make it unarguable like now. And just a little preview, it's got to do with NIL and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on.
That's what we call a tease in the business.
Tease in the business.
Well, I had one other thing that I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Oh man, I forgot. Oh my god, this is gonna kill me. I think it was about Army Navy. Yeah, whatever.
If you remember,
it's fine.
If you remember,
I'll chime in.
All right. Next topic I wanted to talk about is college football fights, the planting of the flags, and storming the field.
Are we throwing in the bottles too?
Anything like that has happened this year at an egregious rate.
Yeah.
I'll kick it off here because I am very passionate about this, and most people, if you know me, would think my take on this is the exact opposite. I hate the fighting after games. I hate it.
You're right in thinking that people would think you have the opposite view. That's what I thought when you sent me or texted me that you wanted to talk about this. I was like, oh, we might have different views, but okay, all right, go on.
I hate it. I love the that clip of Ohio State and Michigan when they're in the locker room and they're ready to run out and like they're yapping at each other and stuff like that, or like Michigan or Michigan State like walking across the field with like their hands held through their warm-ups or whatever.
Yeah.
I love that kind of shit before the game. Love it because it's showing like passion. It's like showing care and intensity. However, once that final whistle blows, you need to have one, respect for human beings, but also respect for college football. And I think even with like celebrations and stuff this year, I think kids these days have completely lost that for college football. They do not have the respect for it. And I actually despise it. Like, I get it. It's a heated rivalry. But you don't like two kids got pepper sprayed.
Yeah.
This weekend.
Yeah.
Too far.
That's way too far. back to your point about like pregame stuff. So like, how do you feel about like a player going on, like say it's an away player and they go onto the field and go onto like the middle logo and then like scrape their
That's
case
a no-no.
against it? That's a no-no.
That's a no-no.
Okay.
Because you know what? Next year when you're home, how would you feel if they did it to you?
Exactly. So that's kind of my I agree with you with pretty much everything you're saying. Like the time for the fighting is during the game, right? Prior to, like, if you're jawing at each other, like getting like hyped up, fine. But after the game, you had your chance to smash into the other dude. That's it. That's it. You don't continue to like take it too far.
No.
I wanted to bring up a point. Donovan Edwards, the running back for Michigan, prior to the game, he was asked about like the rivalry, and he said, two legendary teams and people who genuinely care about one another and don't hate each other just because they play for another team. That sounds like a lie, if you ask me.
But you know what that sounds? That sounds like what it should be.
Yeah,
that sounds like what the rivalry should be.
Totally agree. And then if this, so like with the planting the flag, you know what's going to happen. You know the other team's not going to like it, and you're going to start a fight. Like, there's no good outcome with it. Oh, you get to like show the video of you put it down. Fine. No, that's you look dumb. You look like an immature kid. Like at least you beat a team. Like you can be hyped about it afterwards, but show respect for the other guys on the field because they put up their best fight. You put up yours, and you came out on top.
And you are going to be there one day where you lose and someone's going to plant a flag on your field and you're going to be pissed off. And not for nothing. So this topic really got me fired up. And like, I know two people that are graduated from Michigan and, pride and true blue and fucking maize, right?
Blech.
I got to say, I'm usually pretty reserved on speaking like this. But cool, you beat them 3 or 4 years in a row. That's cool. But you really didn't start beating them until you had to pay for players.
And you cheated too. Maybe not this year.
So, like, maybe relax a little bit. Like, think about it. I know they won a more recent national championship, obviously last year. But again, you can, for now, all these teams, you can put an asterisk saying, oh, NIL. Paid for players. And before that, before your little winning streak, what did Ohio State win 6, 7 in a row?
I think it was 7, yeah.
So just cool it. You're not better than anyone. So especially after the game fighting like that, you're not cool. You want to plant a flag? That's fucking sick. How original. I wonder who did. Wasn't it Baker Mayfield?
It was Baker Mayfield at Ohio State. Yep.
Yeah.
This isn't the first time it's happened. And he I don't know if you saw this, but he came out and said like, oh, I hope they don't ban it because I think it's a great part of the game. Which like
everything is Baker, overdone.
But it is. And I think like there's been so many things in college football this year that have really come to a boiling point. Like I think this weekend was one of them. Because there was like 3 or 4 incidents like with like on-field brawls or like fights due to this like showboating, like planting the flag and stuff like that. Like, I don't know what needs to be done. Maybe it's like from the coaches, like having better control of your players.
I have an idea.
Like what?
Do you want to get paid like a pro player? You get fined like a pro player.
And Ohio State and Michigan both got fined over, I think it was $100,000 for the post game stuff. So I mean, like they
and you know
need
what?
to be held accountable with a lot.
And I get the fines, but make these kids start feeling the pressure. Suspend them the rest of the year. Now you just cost your team potentially a national championship.
Or like
you lost the rest of your senior year.
Yeah,
make them feel it.
When they like when they get a targeting penalty and they're out for the next game, do that. Do like a half, something like that. Because
that's the shit that pisses me off. And I might get on a rant, but I'm going to try not to. Defenders get suspended for just sometimes a honest mistake on a hit that's called targeting.
It's a bang play, yeah.
But you can punch a dude in the face, like the guy in Notre Dame against USC this past weekend. Literally punched a dude in the face. It's on video, and he's just going to get away with it. No, you have the video evidence. Suspend him. He's done for the year.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying if it's the first game of the season, suspend him for the year, but it's literally game fucking 12, so get rid of him the rest of the year.
Yeah. No, I feel like there's just a lot out of control with college football in some senses. Like,
I think it's so out of control, only dramatic measures are going to work.
Yeah,
I don't think little slaps.
There's just no governing body with this, though, because we've talked about with NIL. There's no clear outlines with that. We have like the fighting this weekend. We have, like I mentioned earlier, the like throwing the water bottles on the field when the home fans don't agree with something. And then I've been getting notifications nonstop all day today for this player's going to enter the transfer portal. This player, and like there's been like 50 players entering the transfer portal for all these teams that are like either not bowl eligible or they are, but not for like the playoff.
Or they're not going to play in the bowl. Whatever.
It's just such it's a crazy time with college football, and it just seems like chaos. And in some ways, admittedly, it is like the good chaos. I think with like the playoff, because like the Georgia game this past weekend. I don't know if did you get to watch that?
No,
dude. 8 overtimes, 7 overtimes.
Oh wait, yeah, I did watch that because that was Friday night, right?
Yes,
I did watch that. Yeah,
that was wild. And then like playoff implications with that, like I like that. Like, oh, you know what's the playoff going to look like? What are the seedings going to be? And it keeps you more engaged. Like I like that kind of chaos, but there's just so many other things that just like lessen the sport that just really like, I feel brings down the product.
Yeah, I'm in a little bit of a mourning stage for college football right now, just because like now some people that like have been watching college football as long as I have, like they like all the changes and everything like that, which I'll give it to you. That's fine. But that doesn't mean I can't go the other way. And that's fine too. Because do I think players should get paid? Yes. Do I think there needs to be, like you said, a governing body? Yes. Does college football need a commissioner? Yes.
Yeah. Not to cut you off, but I forgot where I've heard this. But it's been like thrown out there that at some point, like the Big Ten, the SEC, they're gonna say, "Okay, NCAA, see you later," and they're basically gonna like form their own league, like a semi-pro league.
I don't even know why they do that.
The sport.
Go to the fucking XFL.
Yeah,
if you don't want to play college football, amateur football, go right to the fucking XFL.
And they kind of do this with the NBA, like the G League. Recently, this is within the past couple of years. The rule is like, okay, you can't just go to the NBA from high school anymore. You have to have 1 year in college, and now I'm pretty sure you can just sign with the G League team and do your year there, and then go into the draft or whatever. So. Maybe that's in the future. Like I don't know if the XFL or the AAFL, whatever the hell is whatever FL is a thing anymore. The
XFL
is it? I don't even know because we've had so many over the past few years.
I don't know if it's called the XFL, but it's because they combine the two leagues.
Okay, all right. Regardless, if that sticks around, maybe they can do some kind of thing like that where it's like just. A minor league NFL,
Yeah,
I hope that doesn't happen because like I this year I've really enjoyed college football and it's becoming one of my favorite sports to watch. I mean, it was already up there anyway, but I've just
that's why that separation can happen.
I don't want it to, but it
I know.
It just seems like it's heading in that some kind of direction like that.
I know that's a thing. Honestly. I think what they should do is kind of erase every conference right now, right? And I was actually talking to Eric about this, and I said, I don't know how, not going to be in the definitely near future, but eventually I think everyone is going to get so tired for a conference game traveling across the country that there's going to be like this reset point in college football. And it should go back to regionally. So like, let's say the Big East becomes a thing again. Then you got, Army, Rutgers, UConn, UMass, Syracuse, right? All in that conference where they're supposed to be. And then in territories where it's like the Midwest, where there's Ohio State and Michigan, make like A and B tier. So A tier, Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana right now,
Penn State.
and then B tier, Ohio, like those really Northern Illinois, the lower schools.
Yeah.
It's too fucking all over the place.
It's becoming like a pro sport.
Yeah,
with this. With the travel part of it at least.
You know what? I don't really mind it because I'm not the one having to travel and whatnot. I don't mind that part of college football as much. I'm just like, I still don't know how I feel about 12-team playoff because one, you're taking away from bowl games.
Yep.
But also, out of those 12 teams, who legitimately has a shot to run through 12 teams and get a championship?
On top of it, like, are we really like? I'm going to pull it up before I talk. Alabama with 3 losses is at 11. 3 losses.
Oh, come on. It's funny. So, I will say after further review, they got to be ahead of Miami.
I mean, yeah, I get that, but I'm just saying it's just like, okay, like we saw this coming. Okay, which 3-loss team is better? Are we throwing Texas A&M in there, or Alabama?
The problem is everybody fucking losing.
I think it's been more apparent this year. Like it's happened more. Like there have been more teams.
I cannot remember a year where there has been more chaos than this year.
Yeah,
right now. I cannot think of a year. I mean,
partially
just when
that's NIL too.
Yeah, and it's like Texas A&M had like 4 separate shots to get into the top 10, and they blew it all 3 times.
Yeah.
Alabama had multiple times, blown it all 3 times.
Right.
And then you even get like a mix of like, oh wow, Notre Dame actually looks pretty fucking legit this year, but they lost to fucking Northern Illinois.
Right. And they don't have a conference game, and like you can't really measure them against like a top.
And then you got more shit like, okay, Colorado just lost recently, so they have a really bad loss to Nebraska, who's unranked. They have a really bad loss to Kansas, yet they're ranked in front of Army, whose worst loss is against Notre Dame, who's now in the top 4.
Right. I don't want to get off of this topic if you're not done with it, but if we could, I wanted to briefly touch on the Heisman.
Yeah, let's touch on it.
Okay, so
I don't really. I told you culture wasn't going to take up majority of this.
Yeah,
the NFL is going to be very limited, and whatever else you got is going to be limited.
But I just since you mentioned Colorado, I feel like it's a 2-horse race with the Heisman.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, who do you have? Well, we can say who do you think should win, not who's going to win. Who do you think should?
Okay, that's better for me because my brain was immediately splitting into 2. It should be Genty, no question.
I 1000% agree.
I mean, part of the essence of Heisman is you're that good for your team. You take Genty out of Boise State, they are not nearly as good as what they are right now.
Yeah, they could be a top 4 seed at by this time next week in the playoff.
Easily.
Yeah.
Now, can you make that argument for Travis Hunter? Yeah, but they also have Shedeur Sanders in there. They got another really good wide receiver that nobody talks about.
Yeah.
And not to mention, Genty's 1 loss is against Oregon by 3 points.
Yeah, right. Doesn't have 3.
He didn't lose to unranked Nebraska. He didn't lose to Kansas.
Yeah. I got a few points on this. One, I don't know if you saw this or not, but I didn't like the stat padding with Colorado this week with still throwing to Travis Hunter. I forgot how much they were up by, but they had the game in hand. Meanwhile, Boise State sat Genty, I think, in maybe the 4th quarter of the second half with their last game because they were up so much. So, didn't really like that. With Genty, with his rushing yards, if you just count his rushing yards after contact, he still leads the nation in rushing.
Yeah.
That's insane. He's got 29 touchdowns?
Yeah.
This is something that we really don't see very often, and it worries me that we're not going to get like the satisfaction of having him be rewarded for it. And then one other thing I want to mention too. Just with like everyone points to, Travis Hunter, he plays both sides.
Sick.
Yes, he does. It is impressive. It is impressive that he's able to have like the stamina and everything to be able to play that many snaps. He is above average on either side of the ball. He is not the best player in the nation on either side of the ball, though. Right? Like there are a few wide receivers you can say are better than him. He's definitely special. And there's quarterbacks that are better than him as well.
Yeah.
And he has a huge impact on the game. I don't think he's like Genty though in his impact, because he has I don't even know how many yards he's averaging a game. It has to be over 150 though, because every time I look, he's got
every game he's close to 200.
It's
every game he's close to 200.
I know we don't see this very often, and I think it should be Genty. I think Hunter's a big time favorite in terms of like betting, but I just have a feeling it's going to go to Hunter.
I also think it's going to go to Hunter, and I think the Heisman has turned into a popularity contest.
It is
as well.
But let's just say this though: at least it's not like it's all quarterbacks, because that's usually what it is.
Yeah. Well, who the fuck is going to be the quarterback? Think about
Gabriel, I guess he's going to be the other one, even though like there are guys who have better stat, and then maybe Cam Ward would be the other one.
Yeah,
at least it's not just like 4 quarterbacks like it usually is.
Yeah, I don't. I really hope Genty wins for multiple reasons. Yeah. Also, if you're going from a standpoint of like, the Heisman is usually the guy that's in the playoffs or in the national championship, that ain't gonna be Hunter. It ain't gonna be Travis Hunter.
Conference championship, just conference championship.
Yeah. So at what point do they change their unspoken rules? And like I don't know what's gonna happen. Yeah. This year oddly reminds me of, I don't remember what year it was, but it was the year Derrick Henry won the Heisman. Derrick Henry should have not won the Heisman. It should have not happened. It should have been Christian McCaffrey.
I remember that one now. Yep.
Literally 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards like kick return and punt returns. I think almost 1,000 receiving.
And he went bananas.
Yeah, and he got ripped because Alabama was in the national championship.
Right, and there's that one picture of Derrick Henry towering over Mark Ingram. You ever seen that?
Yeah. So that's what I'm just saying about the whole national championship thing.
Yeah. I mean, it matters until maybe it doesn't. But I don't want to discredit Travis Hunter. What he's done is special, but I think that
for sure,
Ashton Genty, he is the reason that Boise State is where they are. And I don't know.
Literally,
Colorado wouldn't be what they are right now without Hunter, but he does have Shedeur Sanders, and
I think they'd be better off too. That's what I'm saying. You can't tell me Travis Hunter is making all the difference, and they have 3 losses, pretty much all to teams.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think of the third loss. It was Nebraska, Kansas, and who?
I gotta look it up.
Yeah, look it up, because Boise's 1 loss is to Oregon by 3 points. So, and I'm pretty sure he still went bananas anyways. So, I don't really.
With the game this week, they won 52-0, and they were still like stat padding for Travis Hunter. Kansas State.
Yeah. So another unranked opponent right now.
Yeah, right.
And that's like the big reason Alabama's ahead of Miami right now, is because Alabama is 3-1 against current top 25 teams, and Miami's 0-1. So
I mean, yeah.
I don't know how they're going to handle it this year.
It's something, man. This is
the whole season.
I don't know if this is just this year or not, but I feel like there's just so much discourse, so much like, I guess for lack of a better word, fighting over things. Like everything
it's all over,
ratcheted up. It's crazy.
when I was
for so
outlining
many things, for the rankings, for the high, like there's just a lot.
When I was outlining this episode, I was like, we have to talk about college football like almost the entire fucking time because there's way too much fucking happening right now to even remotely think about anything else. Like the fucking NFL, I couldn't think of a fucking thing outside of a couple games. So since we're here, let's just fucking start talking about it. I got so I want to talk about the Chiefs. What?
Before we do that, do you want to talk about the conference championships and like give our picks?
Oh, we could do that. Yeah,
we could
do that.
Let's do that because we didn't really like even touch on that because this is the big week for it. All right, I don't even know some of the who's playing. Let's see. All right, where do you want to start?
You start anywhere. Start anywhere you want.
Okay, so I guess since Boise State is what we just talked about, UNLV Boise State.
That's not going to be close.
Boise State.
Yeah,
okay, I'm going there too. Tulane and Army.
Oh God.
This is a jinx-free zone. Pick as the expert here.
So it's funny you said that. I pick Army regardless. Like even in picks, 1 year, like that 1 year they played Oklahoma, I put them at my number 10 to win. I will not ever pick against them, and it'll be my most confident pick.
Okay. I'm going to pick them as well. The Big 12, Iowa State and Arizona State. Not going to lie, haven't watched a single second of either teams this year.
Iowa State and who?
Arizona State.
Both of them had really good potential of getting into the playoffs, but then they blew a few games that were just, what the fuck are you doing? Similar to Colorado. So this one is definitely a toss-up. Oh, this one's actually a really good one. When is this?
Saturday at noon.
Oh wait, no Army game. Okay, I'll be able to watch that because I want to watch.
There you go.
I'm gonna pick Iowa State.
Just for the sake of being different, I'll be Arizona State. I'll pick Arizona State. All right, Next one, Georgia, Texas. We have seen this already.
Yeah.
Georgia sure lost that fucking game last week, man. They should have
lost. They should have lost a lot, but at least they're kind of.
They did pull out. I don't know if you saw the win probability chart, like as the game was going on, but like once they got to like the end of the fourth quarter, it just kept going up and down. like 99% one way, 99% the other way. It's just like it's like a really high heart rate.
Yeah, that shit was fucking crazy, dude.
That was a fantastic game. What a time to watch that, man. Anyway, all right.
I don't know where to go on this one. I do not know where to go on this one.
I'm not super confident in either team.
What causes more chaos, a Georgia win or a Texas win? I think a Georgia win has more chaos.
Yes, it definitely does.
Okay, so for that reason, for the way this year's going, I'm picking Georgia.
I think I am too. Like I like Texas had what they have like one loss.
Yeah, they have one loss.
I just wasn't really impressed with early on in the season. Yes, I was impressed with them, but like now,
then again, I'm going against
my viewers hasn't really been that great. From what I understand,
I usually keep a rule with college football. It is very hard to beat one team twice in 1 year for college football. It is very hard to do, but just the amount of chaos this year, I think Georgia's going to end up winning it.
Yeah, I think so too. And I hope so, just so we can use the Sam Ellinger gif again.
We're back.
Yeah. All right. Next, Clemson, SMU.
Clemson, another one of those teams where everyone else was laying it out for them and they just couldn't complete it.
Couldn't handle it. Yep.
This one's still a tough one. SMU's in their first year there. I gotta say though, I don't really trust Clemson. I'm going SMU. I think.
Say it. Go Mustangs.
Yeah, I'm going SMU.
Yeah, like you said, Clemson. They like we watched that. They play Pitt. right? They played Pitt at Pitt. Man, that was a terrible game. And they should have lost that one. They're not the Clemson of old, and I don't trust them. So I'm going SMU. All right, last big one. There are other conference championships, but this is the last one with really big implications. Penn State, Oregon. I'm going Oregon. I don't really see a world where Penn State wins. Are you really thinking deep about this?
I'm going to go Penn State.
Oh, man. Why?
I'm telling just from I know previous years have nothing to do with like this year and whatnot. However, there's just some programs that can't get it done and can't figure it out. And I think and Oregon could still go into the playoffs and win the thing, but they've been due for a slip up. And I'm telling you, I think it could be this one. Because everyone's going to have the same idea of like, oh, they escaped having to play Ohio State. Like, now they got to play Penn State.
They may have that idea too.
Yeah. So I'm just saying it's a weird year. Oregon has slipped away with some very games. I mean, they only beat fucking Idaho by 10 fucking points. Like, that holds weight. That's got to hold weight.
Right. I'm not super confident in it. I get what you're saying, and I agree with it to an extent. But just having watched Penn State and like I've said it before about Drew Aylar, I don't see it. They don't really have weapons on the outside. All they got to do is make it a defensive game.
All they got to do is make it a defensive game.
That's true. That is true. I'm sticking with Oregon, but I can't say wouldn't that be something if fucking Penn State ends up winning the Big Ten and James Franklin is carried off into the sunset and then he loses a first round playoff game, right?
That's exactly how it would happen. That is exactly how it would happen.
I can see it. I can definitely see that happening.
We are on some Simpson shit here.
If we're right, oh man, come back to this. So I'm still picking Oregon though.
That's fine. Like I said, I got a feeling.
Yeah. All right, now we can move on to the NFL.
All right, so I got a few things here. You had mentioned I gotta tell you, I've had a wild fucking weekend. I'm just gonna tell you really quick, because I don't know if this Chiefs game happened this week or last week, to be honest.
It was on Black Friday. Yeah.
Okay, because Black Friday was a crazy day. Obviously, I worked for retail, so like it was fucking nuts. And then I couldn't sleep at night because I was so. Me and Erica watched the show. I was revved up from that because it left on a big cliffhanger. And then I watched the fucking Georgia Tech game. And I was revved up from that.
I couldn't go to sleep after too. I had to give some time.
I did not sleep until like fucking 2 a.m. Then I got up at like 5:30 to leave for Army, right? And then I got home that night. I was so tired, Justin. Whatever I was in clothing wise for the game, I went right to bed in.
Oh my God, really?
I fell asleep with a hood on, my thermal socks, my sweatpants, and everything.
And when you woke up, were you a fucking sauna?
Oh, absolutely. But that's how dead I was. And then I woke up the next morning at like 6 to go into work for a little bit. Yeah. So I would like when I was doing this, I was like, I don't even know. Justin mentioned this Chiefs game, but I was like, I don't even know if that happened last week or this past week.
Yeah.
I was like, I have no fucking clue.
I get it.
So it was Black Friday. Yeah. So it was Black Friday. I still do not really know what happened. So inform me, please.
I might have the all the details incorrect, but I forget. I could actually just see. So Raiders have the ball. It's past the 2-minute warning, I think, and they're driving down easily, no issues, just going right down the field. What's that week? Last week. So Aiden O'Connell, I'm pretty sure it's Aiden O'Connell. He's slinging it. they're just moving right down. I'm pretty sure that they're like near field goal range by the time this happens. Okay, it's 19-17. So they just need a field goal. They don't even need a touchdown. They just need a field goal. So they're they're not really like managing the clock well. Shocker, it's the Raiders. But what happens is the Raiders snap it. Aiden O'Connell isn't ready for the snap because he's like reading the defense or whatever, and they fumble. But as this is all happening, the refs are blowing the whistle, and one ref comes in from the other side and is making the false start sign. So they're blowing the whistle actively as the Chiefs pick up the ball and recover the fumble. So in my mind, play's dead.
Okay, so play's dead, false start, play's dead automatically.
Right. But refs get together, and I forgot what they had called, but it was like illegal motion or something on the center. And the play was upheld, and the Chiefs got the fumble, and they won. Even though you hear the whistle as the play is going on, and the ref from the other side of the field is doing the false start. I get it. You can like change whatever penalty you're calling, but the whistle's going. That means the play's dead.
This is where the NFL needs to pick up like what the XFL was doing before they merged or whatever. They need to have open communication for the viewers to hear what is being talked about, like in the booth and in New York, to the refs. Mm-hmm. So we can hear that communication of what the fuck is going on, because that's just straight sketch.
That's what I'm saying. I looked it up. It was an illegal shift by someone on the offensive line. But like fine, call a penalty on them, whatever. They were really like messing up the time with it anyway. But
right,
the when the whistle blows, the play's dead. The play was not the like play that was happening where the Chiefs picked it up. I don't think it was finished. But how can you call it a fumble when like you hear the whistle, you stop playing? Most people.
Okay, then that makes.
And then it was just such
the rule of thumb is the rule of thumb is no matter what happens, if that whistle blows, the play's over. You can't literally. There, not even the refs can take that back.
Right, and like the Chiefs are 10-1. They should not be 10-1. They have had, I think, 9 one-score wins and like a plus 58 point differential. If you're 10-1, you should like have a much higher point differential. You shouldn't have that many close wins either. Like,
right.
People are still on the Chiefs bandwagon. Like, oh, they're just coasting the regular season. Once it gets to the postseason, they'll turn it on. I don't see it. They're barely winning these games. And like, I hate to play the whole like, oh, the refs are in the Chiefs pocket card or like whatever, like they're on their side. But like, if it keeps happening over and over and over and over again, like it's
becoming too common and too like, oh wow, that's really hard to defend.
Yeah. They're just like, they're benefiting so much from these calls. It's just so frustrating to see. I don't think they're a good team. I really don't. And I think that they play the Chargers this week, and like I would pick the Chargers to win, because I think the Chargers are actually a good team, and if we've said this before with other teams, they can't keep getting away with it. They just can't.
No.
It was super
it's not. It isn't going to be cohesive to playoff football, in my opinion. I don't think. I think that's really where it'll catch up to them. And I could be wrong. They might be able to, but I do feel like that's where it's really going to stutter. They're going to play a team that's about that business.
Yeah.
And they're going to get stomped. But yeah, it's going to get really hard to start defending it too, especially for something like that.
Yeah. And we talk about like year to year how there's always one or two teams that make the playoffs and have a really good season, because like the one score game win differential, like it for those teams, it like decides whether you have a good or bad season, right? So one example is, I think it was the Vikings in the year that the Giants made the playoffs with Daniel Jones.
Yep.
And they were like 9-2 in one score games. And they were like a top seed, and you're just like, whoa, look at that. Next year, they don't do nearly as good because like it averages out over time. You just can't keep winning those one-score games, and you're going to have a year where you don't come out on top with all those games. So I really think it's a bad omen for the Chiefs going forward. Like they're not the Chiefs of old where they're blowing teams out, and have a high-powered offense. They're winning with defense and with just like really lucky incompetence by the other teams or even the refs.
Yeah, like I said, it'll show up in the playoffs. It'll show up in the playoffs. Shifting gears, the one game I actually did focus on and watch this weekend from the NFL, Eagles and Ravens. I figured I picked the Eagles to win. I figured it was going to happen. I don't fucking know how though, because I said it'd be off of being more consistent with the run game. They both had same amount of rushes. Ravens had more rushing yards. Total plays weren't even close. Ravens ran 71 total plays. Eagles ran 54 total plays. They won time of possession. They had way less penalties for way less yards. Eagles had 8 penalties for 55 yards. They had 4 penalties for 20 yards. The only thing that stands out is red zone. Eagles were 2 for 3 in the red zone. Baltimore was 2 for 5 in the red zone. That seems to be Baltimore's gripe this year, which is interesting because when you have Derrick Henry,
run him into the fucking
defense,
he's gonna push through at some point.
Yeah, and especially like I don't know. I'm so used to the Ravens having like that tight end presence that red zone should be.
Yeah, it's not even like they don't have good tight ends. They got Mark Andrews, who admittedly hasn't been as good as this year as in years past. And they have Isaiah Likely too.
Game. Even in the passing game, though, the Ravens 23 for 36. Fucking Eagles had 11 fucking completions.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts. I think that's been my holdup with the Eagles so far this year is like he really isn't.
I'm just concerned about the Ravens. Like, where did you lose this game?
I know. Well, red zone. There it is. Like,
I mean, that was the only answer.
That was a common theme for at least for me this weekend. Ohio State couldn't finish in the red zone. The Patriots also couldn't finish in the red zone. They had to kick several field goals and miss one of them. And then the same thing with the Ravens. Just came down the red zone.
I don't know. I think the Ravens will be fine. They're starting to scare me a little bit, though.
Yeah. I think they'll be fine. They definitely have flaws. For sure.
Which I think it's better to show a little bit of flaws than just, run the table and get to the playoffs and you haven't been tested or anything.
Yeah. I think I might have mentioned this last week, but I'm starting to become a little bit more of a believer in the Eagles. And we've talked about throughout the season where their record does not match the narrative that they have around them, where everyone's like, Nick Sirianni, he's going to be coach fired. Even if they've fucking 2 losses at this point.
I mean, at the beginning of the season, it was looking like that.
Because they were still winning, but not playing up to stuff.
I think the focus is shifting, though, from Sirianni onto Hurts.
Yep.
Because I'd hate to see the fucking Eagles with, I don't know, let's throw a name. I don't know who to really fucking say, but like an established quarterback that can actually fucking throw the ball 30, 40 times a fucking game with fucking Saquon in the backfield, forget it.
Can we agree that Saquon is probably the best signing of the offseason? The only other one in connection in my mind is Derrick Henry too. But like, imagine if they didn't have Saquon this year, they would not be where they are right now.
No, we talked about that last week. They wouldn't be anywhere near to what they are without Saquon.
So I'm becoming more of a believer in the Eagles. And especially when this one in Baltimore, tough place to win.
Yeah. Shifting focus again. I wanted to talk about the Trevor Lawrence hit because there's a lot of back and forth on this topic right now. I've seen a few like pretty wild, how the fuck are you going to do that kind of suggestions Like a few guys are suggesting you can't run the quarterback anymore.
Oh, stop it.
I don't like when I first saw it, I was like, wow, dirty fucking hit.
Yeah.
But then when I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, Trevor Lawrence started sliding when the dude was 4 yards away from him. It's not like he was like 10 yards away.
Bang, bang, play.
And when you're going full speed and like, what are you going to do? Ease up and give up the first down? Or
I think what doesn't help though is that I didn't know this prior, but this guy, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Al Shahir or whatever.
Aziz Al-Jaluri?
Sure. He has a history with dirty plays like this. So there was.
I think I saw another hit. I think I saw.
He like punched another player in the face on the sideline, which like, why are you punching someone with a helmet on? That kind of seems like it's only going to hurt you.
Well, whatever. Those are just idiots, like literally.
And then there was another instance of like when Brady was in Tampa, he like, I don't know if this was like during the play, like as the play was being finished, but he had his hand like around his neck, choking him basically. So there is a sizzle reel, if you will, of some.
In my opinion, dirty I think he could have showed a little bit more effort to pull away, like mid launch, kind of like turn or something like that.
Right.
Way easier said than done, but I don't think it's as clear cut dirty as people think.
I think it looks worse.
It looks worse.
And I mean, let me back up though too, because like Lawrence, he went into we've seen it with Tua with that like fencing position where like his arm is out in front of him and like he's pretty much unconscious and his like just muscles tighten up in a certain way. So that's very concerning. But regardless, it's not a good look for that guy, and he should be dealt with in an appropriate way.
He suspended 3 games, so probably should be more. I'm trying to think about where we're at in the season, but
yeah.
But again, you can't really keep punishing defensive guys for playing defense.
Yeah.
Maybe throw in a fine there or whatever, but who knows?
Yeah.
That's all I got for the NFL this week. I didn't really get too involved with it this weekend. I was busy.
I guess I can just talk about the Patriots. You don't mind? That's all I got to talk about because it was a really depressing sports weekend for me, considering Ohio State. Then Patriots lost. Then the Celtics lost on I think it was Sunday night too. So great times. Anyway, so they lost. The Patriots lost to the Colts. They gave up a last minute, it was under a minute left, touchdown on 4th and goal to Anthony Richardson. It was just a QB run up the middle. They let him drive down over. I think they may have given up like a couple, like 1 or 2 4th downs. But they let him drive right down the field, and it's fucking Anthony Richardson. And having like that was my first opportunity to watch him. He can run the hell out of the ball. He can't throw it. Like his deep ball looks terrible. Like it's just like he's like lobbing it up in there and hoping that it's going to come somewhere within the area that a guy can run underneath it.
I compared him to Daniel Jones not too long ago.
Yeah, I can kind of see it. And on the play that I mentioned where they scored the touchdown to take the lead, Christian Barmore, who is a defensive lineman for the Patriots, he was very clearly held and pulled down to the ground. And then Anthony Richardson just walked right over him. So very missed call there. But, I mean, the Patriots had plenty of opportunities. Yeah. The Patriots had plenty of opportunities to win this game before that, though, where they failed in the red zone. Joey Slye missed a kick. And, okay, let me ask you this question because you didn't watch this game. I forgot. I think they only lost by they might have lost by 3. Let me see, just so I can. Okay, they lost by 1. So you're at the 50-yard line. You're on offense. There are 7 seconds left in the game. You're down by 1. What are you doing? Are you trying to kick a field goal to win from the 50-yard line, or are you throwing a Hail Mary?
From the 50, that would make it what? A fucking 60 something?
Which is more than the record.
I'm fucking throwing the Hail Mary.
Okay, let me ask you this. Now, what if I told you that you're outside in New England with it being 30 degrees out? You still saying Hail Mary?
Yeah. I kind of.
Well, Gerard Mayo thinks otherwise. So let's try to kick a field goal too. He had Joey Sly kick a fucking 68-yard field goal.
Dude, in that temperature, you might as well line him up and have him kick a rock.
It landed like 5 yards short. He's kicked a 63-yarder this year.
I was going to say, considering 5 yards short isn't too bad, but man, I would have thrown that Hail Mary.
He kicked a 63-yarder. That was in San Francisco in nice weather. Okay, so it was just such a fucking stupid people were saying like, oh, what about the percentage of the kick? No, it's a 0% chance for the kick because it's never been done. No one's ever kicked a 68-yard field goal, regardless of it's inside or outside. It's more of a chance inside, fine. But throw the fucking Hail Mary. You have Drake May. He can sling that fucking shit further than the end zone. If
no one has done it in Colorado, no one's doing it anywhere.
Exactly. What a great point, Walter. What a great point. It's the stupidest fucking call. Oh my God. And yet again, I'm just going to sing Drake May's praises because he balled the fuck out in this game yet again with no weapons. And something that is a little bit interesting, he has more yards per rush this season than any of Michael Vick's prime seasons. How about them apples? My boy got the wheels.
That's actually pretty crazy.
That's what I'm saying, right? He's a very good runner. That's very underrated with that. Granted, like they didn't end up executing the red zone. Like I said, Joey Sly missed a kick, and the defense let him walk all the way down the field at the end of the game. But that end of the game fucking kick was so stupid. And like
I don't understand that.
I kind of have one foot out the door with Gerard Mayo because like there's just a cycle of him like making these stupid decisions. Not and let me another thing. The offensive line keeps fucking having false starts and holds, and it's just rampant. I think I need to even look how many fucking penalties they had. They're just such an undisciplined team. It's so frustrating to watch.
I mean, the pieces are there though, so
it's got good bones. They got good bones, and those bones are Drake May.
The foundation is slightly. I said foundation, and I just immediately went to Korg.
Some would say that the Patriots may be cooking with gas. They may be cooking with gas. I have to give Cassie credit for that one. That was a Cassie original, and it was chef's kiss. Very good one. And it, of course, is not gonna come up on any penalties they had not loading. But regardless, they had a lot of holding penalties. Very undisciplined team, and Gerard Mayo has this habit of saying something after the game and then having to walk back his comments the next week or the next day. I don't know if he has it. They should have won this game. It wouldn't have made a difference. They have a better draft pick now, but it's still just frustrating to watch.
I mean,
thank you for coming to my TED Talk again.
2 TED Talks in 1 night.
I'm ranting to this. I needed to get this shit out, man, because it was a tough week.
Holding on by a thread.
Honestly, yeah.
Do you have anything else?
Not really. I mean, there is stuff with the NBA, I guess. Like the NBA Cup is ongoing. As we kind of go along with it. Some teams are locked into their positions. I think it's kind of stupid. I feel like I've arrived at that. They've tried to make a playoff atmosphere early on in the season to attract fans, which it's cool, but
I mean, at least they're trying something in the fucking NHL.
Yeah, very true. For example, the Celtics in their game, I think Friday against the Bulls, with the seeding for the NBA Cup. They have to win a game by a certain margin in order to be at a certain point in the standings. So they were up by 9 points, and they took a timeout with I think it was 7 seconds left or something, so that they can get more points for their standings. and this is just like an early season game. It shouldn't really matter this much. It seems kind of silly, like that we have to think about like point differential and stuff. And I don't know. It just seems kind of like disrespectful to the game too. Like you're up by multiple scores, you're gonna win. But since we have this other thing over here that like players are trying to make money, which is a good thing. Like if it gets them playing more, fine.
I think it's just trying to give incentive to maybe the guys that aren't fully trying.
That the load management guys who just sit out. Yeah, and that's exactly what it's for. And for the fans too, to got to get them engaged with like early season games because early on in the season. I mean, I'm not as plugged into the NBA as I usually am, like when football isn't going on, because I'm more invested in football.
Yeah, right now there's way too much.
That's what they're trying to get, which maybe it's helping. I don't know. Yeah, so those matchups are still going on, and some teams are getting locked in. So as we get close to that, we'll cover it a little bit more. One funny thing, because I'll take any chance I can get to make fun of LeBron. He had said that like he thinks that the NBA Cup is like kind of pointless and like doesn't matter, even though the Lakers won it last year and he was very excited that they won it.
I was just about to say, wasn't he all pumped about it last year?
That dude is such a liar. Anyway, he's a bitch to me.
Bitch.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all I got. I could go on a baseball rant, but I'll just save that for another time. We'll save it for whenever Juan Soto signs. Hopefully he signs with the Red Sox, but we'll see.
All right.
Just going to put that out into the universe.
Go ahead and put it out there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I guess we'll be back next week.
Yes, sir. Go Army. I hope they win their conference game.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.